Welcome everybody to the Morning Update Show. I am your co-host Trey Holiday, and boy oh boy, you guys know we got a great show lined up for you today. I can't do this without my very best guy, Big O, right here. Always throw it over to my guy, Big O. What's up? Good morning.
Hey, Treyana.
Happy Thursday to you, man. Happy Friday Eve.
Friday Eve. That's a good way to look at it. All this rain done came on here,
exactly.
man. You know what I'm saying? Rainy day in August in Seattle. Wild, right?
No, man. I was really excited with all this weather we've been seeing so far in August. This is looking a little bit more like Seattle. I'm cool with it.
Yeah, I don't know. This weather change might have brought the M's some good luck. You know what I'm saying? The Mariners won last night. Yeah.
There you go.
They beat the Angels. 5-8 now. They're still in the I think the bottom of the American League West, but the only place to go is up.
There we go.
So that's a good one there. Also, it looks like your guy Jay. I don't think it was any doubt though that Jay Inslee would make it through the primary, but Jay, and it looks like that he's most likely going to face Republican Lauren Culp.
Wow, here we go. Tough races down the pipe.
It's going to be good moving into November. So we do have some news here. Some news that actually pertains to us on a lot of different levels. The King County prosecutor yesterday, they released a suspect. The suspect's name in the murder of Lorenzo Anderson that happened on June 20th. Right here, right outside of the CHOP. We're both friends with Lorenzo's mom, and the murder occurred right here, one block from our studios. This is coverage last night of King 5, talking about the suspect being identified.
Sorry, I might have the wrong clip here.
Yeah, no problem. Well, basically, what I can say is this, Trana, is that suspect is on the run. They said that right after the murder occurred. Here you go. This is the clip here.
King County prosecutors have filed first-degree murder charges against a man they say is responsible for killing 19-year-old Lorenzo Anderson outside of the so-called CHOP, or Capitol Hill Organized Protest Zone, in June. King 5's Tony Black went through the documents to find out what witnesses say really happened.
Please allow us to get fire into the area to provide the name.
On June 20th, Horace Lorenzo Anderson was shot and killed in Capitol Hill. He was 19. Wednesday, King County prosecutors charged Marcel with first-degree murder. Anderson's death happened just near the Capitol Hill Occupy protest, but it is not believed to be related. Court documents cite several witnesses that describe how Long and Anderson were arguing, and how surveillance video shows Long pulling out a gun and pointing it at Anderson, who quickly began running away. One witness told authorities eventually Long was standing over Anderson. That witness told police he also had a gun and began firing it in the air to distract Long and, quote, save the guy's life. The witness told authorities Long initially looked over at him before looking back at Anderson and firing. Anderson was shot 4 times.
Stop! SPD, stop!
Investigators say they relied heavily on witness accounts because of the difficulty they had investigating the crime scene when it happened.
Move your cars, go!
Long remains on the loose. Investigators say he left the state immediately. Once arrested, his bail will be at $2 million. Tony Black, King 5.
Man.
That's a tough one. I mean, once again, you know, what I was just saying when we did the recap on Monday, Donita speaking at Umoja Day of Unity. Again, just calling out for those who protect their godson, their nephews, when they know that they're involved in these kinds of cases. Again, I'm glad that there was a break in this case. And I'm really hoping that Donita and her family can see some real closure.
Yeah, they need closure and they need justice.
Absolutely.
100%. So, that's the update there. $2 million bond whenever they catch up with the suspect here. Yesterday, it's the tale of 3 protests that occurred yesterday here in Seattle. There's also some stuff, but just let the viewers know that Justin Carter of CapitolHillSeattle.com is here, and in the next segment, going to also talk to him about the vote yesterday and where everything's at. So we're going to get to that in the next segment. But were you at did you take part in the King County Equity Now March?
Yes. I was down there, marching from the youth jail down to City Hall. So we were there, man, live and in full effect.
Right. And so what we want to do right here, we got an interesting set of videos, and some of them is a little bit shaky, so bear with us. But the video from three different protests yesterday. King County Equity Now. It looks like it was at least 1,000 people, maybe a few thousand people out there. Nice peaceful march from the Central District of Seattle to City Hall. Then there was the Everyday March, where it looks like Councilmember Peterson actually joined in the march and gave them a seat at the table, and you'll see that. Then there was a direct action protest here on Capitol Hill. This is actually the third night in a row that this has happened, where protesters and police kind of play this game of cat and mouse for hours around Capitol Hill. So that happened. And I thought that yesterday was really interesting because we use the term, we as in our society here, we use the term, at least in Seattle, we use the term protester very broad and with a broad brush, and a lot of times it's a very negative connotation. If there's one group that's doing something, then and it might be bad, everybody's like, oh, see, it's the protesters. Over 300 protests every year in the city of Seattle. People protest over all kinds of things. But the first clip here is just a quick one from King County Equity Now at City Hall.
So we can bring the car brigade in.
It's so hot.
So hug, don't really hug your neighbor. COVID is still real. Check. As Everyday March says, booty cheeks. Come together like booty cheeks. Hey. Thank you. Security, if you can bring the car brigade up to the back of the march.
We can tell what producer put that together. That's what do we want for number 6? People for all the protests know about that. But thousands of people yesterday, and tell us a little bit about that protest.
Yeah, well, once again, you get all of these folks together, and honestly, it was a good collaboration because there was a lot of folks there. There was representatives from the Everyday March, TK and a few other folks were there. They actually had someone speak on the mic representing them. And then you had the House of Monet out there giving it up to Nashe Monet in her house. And so, again, just various people speaking to the reason for these demands, the reason for, the push for them, and to encourage everybody to continue to push until the 10th on Monday when that final vote comes in.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So the second one here, this is actually, there's a streamer, Joey Weiser. This is from Joey Weiser's stream. And it looks like the Everyday Marchers yesterday, they caught up with Councilmember Peterson, and he gave them a seat at the table.
So we got Alex Peterson giving the Everyday Marchers a literal seat at the table. All right, you guys, you know what to do. Circle up. Come on, you guys, come on. On the other side, come on, make it like a group. Yeah, there we go.
So Everyday Marchers out there. I mean, and there's been quite a few instances where council members have joined in with them, talked to them, everything else. So we saw that last night. And then here on Capitol Hill, it was crazy because we were, as usual, a lot of times sitting right here, minding our business, editing. I just got some nachos. I just walked in with the nachos, and then all of a sudden, about probably 50 or so direct action protesters showed up. And, that's always a different vibe with the direct action protesters. And it was a game of kind of cat and mouse throughout the evening with the SPD. you see, people see it on the stream, turn over garbage cans, obstruct roads, things like that, kind of back and forth. But this is actually when they got up on Broadway and barricaded Broadway and then went into the park, and then the police came into the park. So this game of cat and mouse has been going on for at least the last 3 nights. And here's what happens is that they'll go set an obstruction, the police show up, guys move on. So there's the officers there. Officers are pursuing on foot. So so it looks like the officers are going to clear the barricades.
And who can move the barricade the fastest? Y'all need to take bets. Who can move them the fastest?
The police are now in pursuit, though. This is the first time we've seen this. Barricades. The police are standing their ground right there on Broadway as protesters now move into the park. Protesters now move into the park. And so there you go right there. And so the whole breakdown is because a lot of people probably don't see this. Maybe that's why people tune in here to Converge. Is that in Seattle, it's hard to say, like it was protesters, because somebody who lives up here on Capitol Hill had a whole different protest experience than say somebody who was on Queen Anne than somebody who were in the Central District. And so there's all kinds of different types of protesting going on here in Seattle, everything from peaceful marches to quiet marches to direct action and everything else.
Yeah, it's a wide variety. And, just last night, one of my cousins texted me and she's like, man, what's up? Now they're saying Black Lives Matter while they, push over trash cans and burn them on fire. I think that,
She must have been watching my stream.
Yeah, she was watching your stream. And she literally said, Omari, in the middle of it all. Literally, she's like, he's always in the middle. But, at the end of the day, she hit a great point in terms of muddling the message, right? You got a lot of people that have been doing a lot of equity and justice work on the ground. And that's really where, you got that kind of coalition style happening. But also, there's a lot of various people who are just pissed off, upset. I think the vote, got some folks a little bit upset because it didn't go exactly like a landslide. But ultimately, we don't want the message muddled here, Right.
And people have to remember, and it's good because we got a Throwback Thursday here. People got to remember that Seattle also has an element that will wait for any opportunity to take direct action on the police or anything like that. That's what we've seen during May Day for years. And so it's like, don't be fooled that there's also a group that no matter what the message is, if they got an opportunity to come out and do something, they're gonna do it.
Agreed.
But like I said, it's just important to be able to show the public and the viewers that there's different types of protest. And to get away, because there's these narratives that happen here, going either direction. There's these very polarizing narratives. And we challenged people earlier this week that we got to roll up our sleeves a little bit over here so you don't just get carried away with a message either way. And how can we compare and contrast different things that are going on the street?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why it's so important that the independent media is on the ground, because we've said it a bunch of times, but the regular media stations don't have that capacity to just, hey, let's get out there, long form, let's show them what's going on. That isn't the way for them. So it's super important that folks like Converge and Joey Weiser and all these amazing folks are on the ground getting this message out to the people, because without it, we wouldn't see that behind the scenes stuff, man.
Yeah, depending on who you're talking to, they said this citizen journalist is fake news.
Oh, man.
That's for another show.
Absolutely.
Something interesting. So here's a part right here. So something real interesting happened last night. We bumped into, the protesters, I guess, bumped into Robert Flagg, and they put a barricade over there right in front of the 12th Avenue Arts building, and Robert Flagg wasn't having it. I think some people might remember Robert Flagg has been on our platform many a times, but he's a gentleman that would come out there when the chop was there, and the choppers would put all kinds of obstructions in the road. He would go out there by himself and just move all of their stuff. And somebody caught him on it as the angry black man. But Robert, we've got enough interviews here, and imagine we actually have so much archive footage from around the chop. But we found a clip from him, like I said, from the chop, and we pulled that out. But Robert took on the protesters last night. There was actually a few people on Capitol Hill that took on the protesters. They were like, man, you guys are going to stop turning over garbage cans in our neighborhood. You're going to stop doing this and that. But anyway, here's the first clip right here of Robert Flagg. Somebody had put some obstructions there in the street, and he confronted the protesters about it. Yeah. So this is Robert Flagg right here. Now Robert, we've had Robert actually on our show a few times. Robert actually lives in the neighborhood. So Robert is an Iraq veteran. Robert's an Iraq veteran who suffers PTSD. There you go, Robert Flagg. Man, look. There you go. All right, Robert Flagg. So we've seen this before, and Robert, as I mentioned there in the clip, and he'll mention another one. He's an Iraq War veteran who suffers from PTSD. When we did our community voices on mental health, and he talked about people who live right here on 12th. They went through it, because you got to remember, before the chop, the police staged the National Guard and the state police right here on 12th Avenue as well, right in front of the building. And you had 7 or 8 days of flashbangs and tear gas and everything else. So residents there went through the police holding the area, then to the chop holding the area, and some of everything else. And so for somebody who suffers from PTSD, first you got hit with the flashbangs and all of that. And then there's the whole deal with the chop and how that went down. But this is Robert Flagg. We captured him back in the middle of June. This was the very first time that I talked to him. And you see he was kind of doing the exact same thing, saying he wasn't having it.
You don't live around here. Quit blocking the street. We are blocking the street. Listen, man, you guys not protesting. Are you out here 4 o'clock in the morning? I'm out here every day. Come on, man. Come on, you can talk to me, my brother.
Really bad face for what we're doing. Love and unity, guys.
You're not going to tell me people don't have the right to do what they want to do, but you're not going to impede on other people's rights, though.
Absolutely not. But
no, listen, that's after you just said that, right?
But you just.
So what? Listen, half of you people don't even live around here.
Listen,
thank you.
I live out here.
I'm done.
Okay, you be done.
I'll be back out here to Cliff Road if you guys need.
So is your position? All right. So again, there's Robert back, and it was an everyday occurrence when the chop was here. They go and put obstructions in the street, and he would come and he would move the obstructions out the street. He said that he felt a sense of responsibility as well for people in the building, in the 12th Avenue Arts building, which is an affordable housing building. And he said that he felt that it wasn't even so much about him. It was about other people in the building. A lot of people over there might be living with disabilities and things like that. He said he didn't feel that they had a voice, and so he was out there defending them.
I mean, well, you said it too. You know, a lot of folks have to remember that the residents, especially right there on 12th Ave, like you just said, so people that were in that building in particular, they were dealing with a set of issues that a lot of other people didn't experience. You know, in the beginning, when that police presence was there, they were literally policing folks going in and out of that building. If you speak to any resident, in order for them to access their own apartment, they were going through police, you know, barricades basically, and having to show papers that they could enter the building and that they lived there. So I think that, you know, it's great for us to actually highlight that those people specifically in that building have actually suffered maybe a little bit more than others.
Well, this is why we're here, to show as many different viewpoints as possible. And so I mentioned the show that we did back in July 6th, I believe, called Community Voices, Focus on Mental Health, where we talked to quite a few people that we met or interviewed over time during the CHOP, and talked about the experience and the impact on their mental health. And here's a segment right here when I asked Robert Flagg some questions.
Yes, and I was just making a statement like, this street is not, we're not giving up this street.
You, as in you, the residents, weren't giving up the street to CHOP.
Me, the resident, wasn't giving up the street to CHOP because we live here. We pay taxes, all this. And the protests, we're all for the protests. Nobody was against the protests. We was against what went on after hours when the news cameras stopped recording. I believe you was the only one that was brave enough. Salute to you. So seeing that, and that was my frustration. So every time the media and the world would see me erupt, it was my frustration the day after. And anybody will be frustrated when you see young kids being killed or shootings happen that there's just no need for. I was in the military. I'm diagnosed with PTSD.
Oh, wow.
And to see something like that, it's really hurtful because nobody should be put through that torment in America. Like I said, you've been overseas, right? So to see that in America go on, nobody should be put through that. If anybody, mother, grandparents, lived in a type of neighborhood where this CHOP thing just happened, anybody will be highway straight there going, hey, you're not stopping my mom from any of this going on. So that was my frustration was from. People may say, hey, that was an angry black man. No, my frustrations was from those residents that couldn't stand up for themselves. And being diagnosed with PTSD, I'm a loner. I enjoy being by myself because I can't control the flashbangs, the booms. I done been to Iraq. I done seen it all. So to see it in my backyard and to see people continue to indulge in this, it's frightening because that's not what America is about. America is about, we can agree to disagree, to understand that, hey, we can find some common ground, that we both have knowledge on both sides, that we may not be right, I may not be right, but understand that we can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there he is right there saying everything.
Yeah. I mean, and best part is it's something that we also say here a lot, is that we don't always have to agree on things. We try to understand. We definitely don't need to kill each other.
Right.
Yeah, so we just thought that it would be interesting to show our audience there 3 different protests yesterday, 3 different types of things that happened, as well as a resident interaction with the direct action protesters there. And I mean, one thing you said about Robert Flagg, man, he's consistent. And he's actually been out here. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't make the news or tape. For the last 3 days, these direct action protesters have been over here in the Capitol Hill area. And Robert Flagg, whenever they come right over here to 12th Avenue or anything, if they come over there, you'll find Robert Flagg out in front of his building. Before we take a break, something I want to throw out there. It's a lot of people, because we're reaching a large audience now, much larger than our original audience, I guess you'd say. it's a lot of people that they're just not hip on Converge. They're not hip on how long we've been doing things and everything else. I got 2 Throwback Thursday clips today, and I just wanted to make the audience out there aware. So a lot of people think that we popped up as a protest network.
Oh, right.
And, haven't been covering things, this and that. It's like, oh, they're protesting, let me go get some phones or whatever. But I thought I would take you back here to 2016. It wasn't quite narrating through the phone then, but this is May Day. This is May 1st, 2016. And sorry, Mom, you will hear me cursing a little bit in this clip, but I think it's important to give some context that we've been out here covering stories in our community, in our city for quite a while.
This is what a police state looks like! This is what a police state looks like! Hey, it's getting hot out here! No! Why the fuck you guys give them the whole city and then do this shit? Man, it's some bullshit. Yo, this is... Fuck the cops! 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 Hey, stay calm! Stay calm! Stay calm!
Yeah, so right there, I was out there actually. I wrote an article about it, and that was a supplemental video for C-Spot Media Group, May 1st, 2016. So, I can take it back. So I can go back even a decade with it.
Right.
But we definitely didn't pop up as a protest network, and Converge has been on the ground working directly or indirectly with partners here in the city for quite a few years.
Absolutely, and I think back even just to when I first met you, covering stories, literally. I mean, covering stories and getting narratives out there from the gate. So again, when you want to be that storyteller, you got to be able to be on the ground, man. And that's what Converge has been doing, man.
Yep. So we're going to take a short break right now. When we come back, we got Mr. Justin Carter from CapitolHillSeattle.com. We're going to be talking about all the action and activity down there in City Hall and what it means for us, our community, and the future. You're watching the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
All right, welcome back to the Morning Update Show. My name is Omari Salisbury. Joined on the set right now by Mr. Justin Carter of CapitolHillSeattle.com. He said, man, you sounding funky this morning. So, here's
spicy.
You did say spicy, but at Converge, it's funky. It's
All right.
the other guys that are spicy.
Right on.
But, man, good morning. How are you? Welcome.
Doing well. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to see you here. A lot of stuff has transpired since the last time that we talked. First of all, let's just jump right into it, man. What are some of your thoughts on the city council vote yesterday?
You know me, I'm always big picture and about directions, so it's easy too. I'm a white guy in Seattle, so I saw some progress on Wednesday, but I can understand some of the disappointment also.
Why don't you tell us about the progress that you saw?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at it in a really bureaucratic and political sense, some important players learned where important documents and budget numbers are buried in City Hall, and they found kind of the framework for reduction. And if you do some math and you use some tricks of accountancy, you can get to like an annualized number of 43%, which isn't as cool as 50%, but it's the start.
Sound like some government.
Yeah,
talk,
I'm not running for anything, I swear.
But were there any losers yesterday then?
Oh, that is too early to say. But yeah, I mean, it depends on what somebody like Shama Swant really wants from this kind of process. She, got obliterated in a political sense, right?
She got smoked in that vote, huh?
She also said all the things that people wanted to hear. And I would guess that if you look at things like, like approval ratings and those kinds of things, if they did that, she scored points. She's the one who stood up for the things that have been on the signs and the simple messages around what people are looking for.
Right. And did the council members, did Juarez and Peterson gain any points for the fact that from day one, they're like, this is my position's not going to change, and like it by no means no?
No, I'd be real surprised. I mean, even with what Peterson did last night, I don't see, it seems like his actions kind of added to the story around him. I think a lot of the distrust in the decision comes from the fact that there isn't a black person on the council.
Right, for the first time in a long,
yeah, and I felt like, I think for the deepest point, for me personally, I just felt the deepest disappointment in that after this vote because of the trust issue.
I'm sorry, can you bring this on me?
Good.
I'm curious out here. Okay, here we go.
Okay, Converge syrup. I like it.
I'm curious out here. We can zoom in. As I told everybody that day when I heard when I heard everybody was jumping on the 50% and it was going to move so fast and all these kind of things and everything else. I said, man, we're going to have some waffles and some syrup ready, or maple syrup ready, because we all know that politicians are known to waffle. And so, was there any waffling that you witnessed here around this process? Well, anybody who put themselves out there, because Sawant, whether you like it or not, she put herself out there. She did exactly what she said she was going to do.
She was a steak.
Juarez and Peterson did exactly what they said they were going to do. Who gets a waffle today?
Yeah. No, Sawant was steak and eggs breakfast, right? That's what you ordered. I don't know. Like, who am I going to give a waffle award to? That's a rough one. See, I call it compromise cereal, man.
Okay.
For me, it's about compromises, and there was a lot of compromising that went on. So,
Don't worry, we won't put you on the spot. Plus, the production team's hungry, so we'll save.
All right, good, because
So we'll save the waffles for them. But the whole point is we hear a lot of stuff here out of this city council where I don't know if there's a lot of foresight in conversation before they actually say things to the public or they move. We saw that with the law they wanted to change around less than lethal and the tear gas and everything else. And it's almost like they set the public up. Like, yeah, we're going to go. It's unanimous vote. They're going to get rid of non-lethals. And, nobody talked to the CPC. Nobody talked to the it's all these letters, OPA, this and that. Nobody talked to Judge Jones about any kind of change to consent decree. And so they put the city, all the residents on this roller coaster here about changing some kind of law that they never could have changed in that direct process that fast anyway because of the consent decree.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from just the challenge of summary, the challenge of media, the challenge of even just as citizens with this new world of social media and citizen media, understanding things in the moment and trying to explain them. You know, the idea of this veto-proof majority that I think you're kind of referring to, like, you know, nobody uttered those words on the council. That was a summary process of people trying to explain what was going on when folks backed up and said, you know what, we support these ideals and we're going to push for 50%. But none of them signed a plan that said they were going to actually do that.
Okay, so two things then. That if that's not clearly...
And don't make me defend the waffling.
No, I'm not.
No.
Listen, you know what I'm saying? Two things then, though. It's like, these guys got to get better with their communications and messaging or something. If the whole city is saying that they're believing in you know, this veto-proof majority or whatever it was there, but the other thing is it sounds like a lot of what was being said is what politicians always say. That's a great idea. I could definitely see a roadmap to getting from A to B, and I'm willing to engage in the process.
See, I do not want to blame the victim here, but I do think that this is about how we read the news. This is how we read Twitter. This is how we watch your videos. Mm-hmm. It's about that side of the equation to me more than what these politicians have been saying for hundreds of years. That's how we got here.
True.
And the way we consume and the way we understand the information, we're learning fast, and it's even more rapid now that we have video and live streams. But that's the real skill set I hope gets developed out of this, is we can understand that this is going to be a compromised situation and you can never stop pushing.
But I think what people should understand, especially people down there in City Hall, and what we found out here, is that the majority of people, at least in this city, they really will understand if you say, you know what, this is actually going to take another month for us to do this. They really will understand if you say, you know what, I made a mistake there. They really will understand if you say, hey, we just need a little bit of patience. But the problem as well then, is, you know, that we could blame these other things. The problem as well is that maybe people down in City Hall are too hypersensitive to all of these streams or tweets or reading the newspaper or whatever, and they're not sensitive enough or in tune enough with the average constituent. The average voter is like, oh, okay, what, you need another month to make sure you got it right? Okay, we'll wait a month.
I think that's a really great point about actual transparency and details.
Because look what happened. They reacted to the social and the tweets and the big news and everything else. That was the first reaction, but then they went and listened. You see what I'm saying? And so maybe just go listen first, or balance.
And I see that, but also I would encourage all the money that gets wasted in these websites that are designed to kind of focus a conversation and direct it in these very structured ways. I get it from like, if I was trying to manage the situation, but as far as getting information out and ending up with like a satisfied citizen, you know, the Seattle Police Department is about to launch a website dedicated to reimagining SPD. Now, I'm pretty sure all of us sitting here understand that website's probably going to be pretty directional and not really a transparent, true process, because that's not how any of this conversation has been structured. So, you know, it's about pushing back on those kinds of things, and I think recognizing when those kinds of websites and those kinds of initiatives come along, that's not enough. Your feedback there isn't it. You need to go out, you need to march, you need to do those things.
You know what's crazy though, is that July 1st, July 2nd, right after the CHOP got swept, reached out to the Seattle Police Department. I said, man, you guys need to start a conversation. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people on the ground, they just wanted to talk. Not, you know, big cameras or this and that. And then talk to people on the ground level. Talk to people about, you know, what's going on here. You know, talk. This is what we do. You know, start trying to build bridges. Seattle is one of the few cities that when you look across America, that even where protests are going on, that these conversations haven't happened. Where you haven't had the police department and other people all in the same room conversation. What's good now, I mean, after this vote, they're like, okay, well, man, let's do this website, and they're, you know, they're making steps forward. But I just wish that people started talking sooner.
Well, you say that, but you have clearly journalism and media is just in your soul. I watch how you work. I can tell you know what you're doing out there, and it's just instinctive to you. But I even saw last night on your live stream the direct action protesters wanted to bar you. They wanted to stop you from coming and giving them a voice and following and showing what they're doing. So it's not always easy to have that conversation.
Well,
it gets
I'm
a
not
really
saying they got to
complicated
meet with
situation.
everybody,
Yeah.
but start meeting with somebody. Yeah, there's so many. I mean, you don't have to. I'm not saying the police need to go be meeting with the direct action protesters, but look at all these other groups that are out there.
Sure.
And that are continuously in the process.
It's also dangerous when you hear from your customer or you hear from your constituent. You suddenly are now on the line in a much different way. It's easier if you can remove yourself and translate those wants and through things like websites and through processes.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would say if Chief Best wants to be successful, if the Seattle Police Department wants to be successful in reimagining and making a better police force, then I mean they're literally gonna have to beat the street and start developing a lot of these relationships. I think that clearly by the way that things have rolled out here, there's a space for these conversations to happen.
Sure. Even with the vote on Wednesday, protests are clearly, and demonstrations and marches and rallies are going to continue.
They're going to continue. So on that line of what's going to continue, what's next? What do you see going on?
Well, I mean, the boring answer is on Monday the full council will kind of ratify a lot of the decisions made by the committee this week. And after that, it's where things get pretty, questionable as far as how the mayor reacts to it, the legal challenges that could come along. Then there's also a process that the city council is committing to around the next budget process already in the fall. So, this is clearly nowhere close to being over with. And you can expect probably some more waffling, sorry to tell you.
So one last thing here, question or observation, and I think you're a really good person to ask this because of you also cover it's CapitolHillSeattle.com, but you've done a lot of extensive coverage in the Central District for years. Central District, Seattle's legacy black neighborhood. What do you see in all of these proposals and things like that is actually something that builds equity and something sustainable for the black community in Seattle? Because programs have been around for a long time, and a lot of great programs out there that we saw on this list, and they could probably do more great things with funding, but funding can also be defunded. Have you seen anything that's out there where it's like these 1, 2, 3 things are being put in place so we're not at this point again 3 years from now, to 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What out there have you seen that's like that is worthy of this process that we've gone through here in Seattle for the last 2 months, that our city has gone through? Is there anything that you've seen that's been like, okay, at least this is coming out of it and it's gonna be something awesome that's gonna change the lives of black people in this city forever?
One element that has resonated on the blog and in our reporting around King County Equity Now has been the idea of a really large, well-funded investment pool for real estate and for development, probably specifically in the Central District, but this idea of an actual pool of funding that could be tapped into by black-led developers and those kinds of organizations to build real things. That seems to have something that goes kind of beyond just the Central District and beyond Capitol Hill's walls. It's something that people seem to understand and can get behind.
Big vision.
It's big, and it's also just real money, and it's buildings. It's geography.
Well, and buildings, I mean, that's equity right there. That's I mean, I think that's really what it comes down to, because program after program after program, I mean, like I said, something could be defunded. Right now, COVID, everything else, you don't even know if this money's actually ever going to come out.
It's housing,
right. It's
room for businesses, it's the job of actually constructing these buildings. So there's a lot of value in that kind of work, and I think that could be something that people turn their attention to maybe next.
All right, fantastic. it's always a pleasure when we have you on here. Let everybody know how they can keep up with you.
Sure. Check out CapitolHillSeattle.com for daily news updates about Capitol Hill and the Central District. And you can follow us on JSeattle on Twitter or CHS Feed.
All right, I got you. And so, if you change your mind about who's waffling,
I'm hungry.
you let me.
I'm hungry.
You're watching the Morning Update Show.
There's a lot going on. Are you ready? Ready to feel better, look better, be better? Drink water. Be ready for a pickup game. Insta-frame to work hard towards your aim? Drink water. Hydrate. Hydrate to invest in yourself. Cut down on sugar. Invest in your health. Imagine the possibilities and reach your potential. Who knows what's next? Be ready. Be hydrated.
Do you want to represent your city? Now you can. The City of Seattle's Democracy Voucher Program is now open. Candidates interested in using democracy vouchers to help finance their campaign for 2021 may begin qualifying now. In 2021, the mayor, city attorney, and the 2 city council at-large positions will be on the ballot. The Democracy Voucher Program has $6.8 million available for local candidates to fund their campaigns. Running a competitive campaign can be costly, and access to funding can serve as a barrier to entry for potential candidates. The Seattle Ethics and Elections Commission is offering one-on-one trainings for potential candidates who want to explore how to access the democracy vouchers. Interested candidates can contact the Democracy Voucher Program at 206-727-8855 or email democracyvoucher@seattle.gov. For more information, you can also visit seattle.gov/democracyvoucher.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Update Show. Omari Salisbury, joined by the very talented Treyana Holiday. Trey Day.
Hey. Welcome.
Man, I always have a good time with Justin.
I know, man. He's a great guy, man. He's like, look, he gets off. He's like, I don't know how you do this every day.
I don't know how you do this every day. I'm like, bro, me neither. You know what I'm saying? It's interesting. It's definitely interesting. So what we want to do right now is we started our interview that we did with Seattle Parks Department yesterday, and it got preempted by our protest and our city hall coverage.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna pick that back up right here.
Awesome.
So up here, Cal Anderson Park in the back. We have Andy Sheffer from Seattle Parks Department. We have Rico Kiddingdongo from DLR Architect Group. Man, welcome. This is our first time using the rooftop set, so I kind of like it up here. We might have to move our morning show up here. We're gonna jump right into it. Cal Anderson Park, which is now internationally known Cal Anderson Park. Clearly this was the heart of the CHOP when the CHOP was here and everything else, and is still kind of a meeting point for protest that happened here in Seattle. Not even just the protests we've seen here. There's always people gathering and things like that. Want to talk to you guys about what are your thoughts on some of the immediate changes to the park, and I bring that up because there's a lot of things that transpired over the last 2 months. There's a lot of events that occurred. There's some structures that have been put in place there. What are some of your thoughts about that?
I think it presents a huge opportunity to get more stakeholders involved in the park and activation of the park. I think a lot of the interventions are program related, activation oriented, and we can support organizations with support from the community to really take a next step on some of those interventions, whether they need to be finessed within this park setting or another park setting, or and kind of pilot them after we go through the process.
Right, and let me jump right in there. So for people, Andy works for the city, so they have all these city terms. So when he's talking about interventions, you're talking about when Chop was here. There's Marcus had the garden that was over there, and there was the conversation cafe. It was sitting down there. There were certain things that kind of sprouted up organically by the people that were over there. Those are some of the interventions that you're talking about, right? Okay, right. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, since COVID and since the George Floyd murder and protests, there's been a whole different conversation around equity in public space. And I think that, what we saw with the Chaz and the Chop was us taking back the streets and occupying space as our own and reinterpreting it through our own eyes. And I think that the opportunity here working with the City of Seattle and working with parks is how do we not only memorialize what has happened here, but how do we keep it moving forward? And I think that's, as we convene a community conversation around that, I think we really need to hear from people what they want to see happen.
You just mentioned earlier, you talk about equity in public spaces and things like that. I think that some people might agree that Cal Anderson is a place for everybody. Some people might not agree. A lot of people might feel that about a lot of different parks across the city of Seattle. You might think, oh, well, that's people for that neighborhood, or that's the people for that group, or whatever. What are you guys doing to build a sense of equity and belonging in Cal Anderson Park right here specifically, and maybe even other parks around the city?
I think it starts with the project engagement process and making sure you have a multicultural team, that the ideas are coming from the respective cultures and groups to ensure that everyone's ideas of what a sense of belonging means are represented.
Well, and people need to feel like they're welcome and that they are seen and that they're heard. And I think that the conversation right now has to be, what does that look like without assumption? And I think for every neighborhood that's going to look a little different, and for each of our communities that we're trying to serve, that's also going to look different.
Protest season, as we call it over here, it's really put a spotlight on protests in public spaces. When I talked to SPD, they told me that every year there's about 300 protests every year. Before all of this, people in Seattle would protest about any of this, the nature of the city. But what's your thoughts on something like Cal Anderson Park or other parks or public spaces being a place where people can assemble peacefully and protest?
I think we all absolutely agree they should be the most democratic space in the city. And for that to really be successful, we got to limit both the physical and psychological barriers as much as possible. So that speaks to the sense of belonging. That also speaks to, obviously, just pure physical barriers. You can look down at Cal Anderson. Obviously, Bobby Morris fulfills an important function, but we have all that fencing that creates an impediment. So we got to think about that in all of the park designs.
I like I said, I think it's important people realize, like I said, over 300 protests a year here in Seattle. And when you're talking about a place where, although we're in these Black Lives Matters protests right now, when you're talking about a place for protests, it is a place for protests of people of wherever they're at on the spectrum. It's a public place, it's the public park, and so you talk about Cal Anderson Park being a place where people can safely assemble and protest. That's for anybody, for whoever they want to protest. This is, like I said, Cal Anderson. If people didn't know Cal Anderson Park before, or even the legacy of Cal Anderson before, not only just here in Seattle, but literally around the world, a lot of people have researched that. It's interesting, because Cal Anderson, when he was in office and really lived his life, he was a trailblazer. The first openly gay member of the legislature. a lot of crossover with Cal Anderson and the black community. Cal Anderson was one of the people who were like, well, you know what? We need to make sure that the black community is their rights are being served, because if not, how can we have an expectation for LGBTQ community? And so I wonder if Cal Anderson's looking down now, and be like, wow, all these years later, this is a park named in his name, in his honor, was a flashpoint of something, that's here that clearly the Parks Department is going to memorialize.
Well, it's what we want to see and what we want to do, but I think the opportunity now is looking through a different lens and looking through the lens of Black Lives Matters. Here, like I think it's going to look a little bit different.
A question for you is like, man, why should people come out and enjoy or take advantage of the park system in Seattle? How good is our park system? This is your opportunity to brag about your parks.
I think it makes the city livable. I mean, especially now during COVID, I think, and there's nothing more that I enjoy in the middle of the day than walking through the parks.
Our families need park space, right? I mean, if you live in the core and you cannot afford a large place to live, you need space, like to get out, to be seen, to interact with each other, to like be with our families. And I think that happens in public space, park space, in a way that is pretty important from a civic standpoint.
Andy, Rico, I mean, thanks for taking time. And thanks because we never thought about even shooting anything up here, believe it or not. But because you guys came, we got this park behind us. I think we have a new set for the morning show. Nice. And as usual, our viewers expect us to doggedly follow up on things. So please believe that, we're going to be following up. We're going to be on the Zoom calls. We'll be sending you emails. We want to know how you're synthesizing your data. We want to see this process all the way through.
Thank you very much.
There it is. Good stuff. So yeah, the very first call about the park was yesterday. I believe they got a lot of people on there. There's a lot of interest in this park, what they're going to do with it, how they're going to take it forward, everything else.
Yeah, I think this entire process is really showing that people are getting in there and getting their voices heard on things that are normally used to having very low community turnout. So things like design review calls and all of that, redoing the park. I love that people are getting engaged.
Right, fantastic. So it's Thursday. We did one throwback before, and it's good that we've actually got him on set today, because I found a throwback here to, I think, March 24th, March 26th. This was episode number 1 of the Morning Update show. We started this show, one, to kind of make our parents and grandparents and aunties and uncles in the Central District proud. Mm-hmm. Like, say, man, look what our kids could do in time of emergency. The governor had just basically shut down the state, and we wanted to be able to have a platform for people in the Central District and the South End, because getting information was like drinking out of a water hose. It was actually, there was a lot of information that was out there in the community about COVID, what was going on, and everything else. And we decided to start the Morning Update show as a way to keep our community updated, to provide a service to our community about what was going on in COVID. And episode number 1, Carlos Imani is a producer. He's on set right here today. Carlos, we had a discussion about how his business could reinvent itself around the parameters of COVID. This was an episode. The first episode was actually about business development, as well as the something going on with the safety and everything else. So this is episode number 1 of the Morning Update show. We're throwing it all the way back to March, all the way back. Mm-hmm. It feels like it's 2 years ago from all the stuff we've been through. Here it is. I know that you've been creating some artwork for some local businesses. I mean, there's the Jerk Shack, Zach.
Yeah, Meaty Johnson.
Yeah, that's right. Meaty
Johnson.
Johnson, and City Teriyaki.
Yep, over in the South End.
So so right now, I mean, because everybody's becoming a hybrid, even Canlis. I don't know if you know the restaurant Canlis. It's right down the road. It was like, man, you used to have to like call 2 months in advance to get a reservation at Canlis. And like now they're a burger joint. They're like, yo, come get a burger, because they want to keep their employees working. And,
Absolutely.
And, you know what I'm saying? They want to do all these kind of things. So tell us about this transition now. But I mean, clearly you've always been in graphic design and everything else. But you're kind of fine tuning your business to be able to meet the need that's out there for small business owners in our community and beyond.
Absolutely. So it's one of those things. I've been doing flyers and working, like we did City Teriyaki's website, but it was one of those things where I knew it was an immediate need to get this messaging out, right? That's like their big thing, is like like you said earlier, there's so much information coming on.
Yeah, there it is right there. Episode number 1. And it took me, I started the morning update show by myself, and it took me like a day or two. I was like, man, I need to call Triana. You know what I'm saying? And me, you, and Daryl, and Carlos Imani been rocking ever since, and picked up a whole bunch of other great people along the way.
It's been an amazing ride, man. Absolutely. This journey is no other, man. I love it.
And to our community, Central District, the South End, to our community elders, I hope that we're fulfilling that vision to make you proud, for you to see the fruits of our community, of Garfield High School, be able to blossom in a different kind of way, in a media path and everything else. People always ask me if I'm nervous about all kinds of different things we do, nervous out here, nervous in interviews and everything else. I say the only time I get nervous when I go right back up there to the Central, because I always want to make sure that we're giving and doing our very best. And because they ask you down there working hard, boy.
Right. And they grill you too. They want to make sure, So the feedback from our elders in our community is like, it's like no other. I got a call just this morning, from one of our elders in the community saying, man, you guys are doing it. Watch you every morning. Keep up the good work. And it's stuff like that, man, it just really fuels me. So I feel that sentiment wholeheartedly, yo.
Man, fantastic. Well, it's about that time. Huh?
It is, yeah. We got to give one shout out to these guys. Yeah.
You just hungry.
No, yeah, I didn't forget. And they're really good.
You just hungry. We got to give some love. So I guess when it goes wrong, we give them waffles to people, but when it goes right, we got guava to the people.
Yes.
Big shout out to guava to the people. You guys were supposed to make the box easy for me to open.
There you go. They didn't, because it's got the tab right there.
They must have known that I was just going to eat everything.
There we go.
All right. Do we got one more tab here?
On the other side.
This
there
side.
We go.
Live TV. Oh, and they're all covered up. Okay. So,
no worries, I will help.
And now, what are these called? Pastelitos. So thank you this is guava to the people for the pastelitos. Oh no, I got you. I know what I'm doing. I had to put the logo out there, which was on the front of the box. So here we go, pastelitos. These aren't going to last long because the crew be out here eating. So I appreciate you guys for the love. That's guava to the people, for everybody that's looking for the pastelitos.
And a huge shout out to them too, because they just been at protests, man. They've been donating these pastelitos. I didn't know what they were until I went to a protest, man. So shout out to them. They've been all over the place.
Yeah, all right. Let's do our thing.
Let's do our thing, yes.
So, stop in here. Programming note is that tonight at 7 p.m. it's Good Game Alert. GGA, Good Game Alert, with Willard Jimerson Jr. It's produced by Omi. So, we want to tune in for that for sure. Then tomorrow, we're back again, a Friday edition of the Morning Update Show.
Yeah, that's right. Making it through the week.
Got anything else to say?
That's about it, man. Happy to get Chats with Trey also will be coming back pretty soon, too. So shout out to Carlos Imani and the producers who are helping out with that effort.
Fantastic. Until tomorrow, well, actually, catch Good Game Alert tonight at 7, and then we'll be back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Peace.
Lift every voice and sing.
liberty. Let our rejoicing rise as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun.